Right. So lab kits from Science Interactives. These are kits that the students would order. They would be available. This is at this point entirely for online courses. What we would be doing here is the students would order and get the kits. These have been used extensively. Thomas Nelson has been using these kits, or a modified, smaller version of these kits, since 2016. I used them in 2021. Again, a smaller kit, not quite transfer VA, rigorous, but certainly interesting. They're used as in forensic chemistry at GMU, as well as in ODU for Chem 101, with the note that Germana is using simulations for the online labs, and that also, I think, needs to be addressed. Transfer VA specifies that we have to have 8 wet supervised labs. We can curate, and this is the dialogue that we need to have as whether or not we think, A, this is doable, and then B, come up, if it is, with a set of labs that would work. And so we can customize our kit and then have these during a Zoom session and have them as our supervised labs. And we can get, again, our 8 wet supervised labs to do this. So to make sure that's valid, we need to consider the curriculum. So we need to look at the learning outcomes that are specified as part of Transfer VA. Again, the Transfer VA has that we have to have the correct safety equipment, that we have to do our labs, that they have to read an SDS. All of those things are part of the lab manual that comes with these lab kits. If we go here and we look at the skills that they have to have, and look at all of these sets of skills. And with this, we have the skills that you can get in your chemistry lab on campus, and the skills that you could get with a lab kit. So here we know what these basic ones are. We have to make measurements. We have to do the correct number of sig figs. The kits come with balances, graduated cylinders, pipettes, volumetric flask. Has in a sense, a drop counter using a syringe with a stopcock for its titration. Did that one, it actually works fairly well. And we can take, and again, find a set of labs that we feel will match the requirements from Transfer VA. So with this, the kit contents would look something like this. So it would come in the box. When you take and you open up the box, each lab itself is in a separate bag. So it might look something like this, where it's our acid-based chemistry, and you would have all of the chemicals that you would need for that particular lab within the bag for that experiment. And then you would have the rest of the equipment. So the glassware, the balance, our heating source, etc. with that one. More equipment, you would have, again, your beakers, graduated cylinders, thermometer, pipette, test tubes, the little plastic pipettes, and everything you would need to do a basic set of experiments. Labs that you could do, chemical reactions is the lab that I will be demonstrating in a few moments, but we also do density, collect a gas over a liquid, separation, stoichiometry. These are all labs that come in the Chemistry 111 kit. I will put the chemistry reaction or chemical reactions lab video up in just a moment here. With the burette and the titration lab, with a note, obviously, we have a volumetric burette, 50 milliliters, maybe not quite analytical, but the kit comes with a syringe with a stopcock that has become more of a drop counter, which is also, I think, valid considering what is done in industry these days. What it might look like here as your students do it. So I ran it when I did this to be supervised. I ran this on Zoom. And so my students would all have their cameras on, they would have their mics on, and they would be doing the experiments, again, obviously wearing their safety gear, and then show me what the results of the experiments are looking like. So they would have to, shift their cameras around and do this. Again, a few more student experiences. So the question for us becomes, do we wish to have a dialogue on whether or not the kits would be valid or at least rigorous enough to count for our Chemistry 111 and 112? You will be receiving a link to the Science Interactives demo site. So you can take a look at the lessons and go through those. Science Interactives is one of the vendors that does this, but not the only one.